Mario Kart Wii is a racing game that can be summed up pretty easily in just one word: chaos. That chaos comes from everything: the tracks, the characters, the vehicles, but above all else, the items. With 19 different items in the game, each serving its own distinct purpose, they are what truly turn every race into complete utter madness. But there's actually a lot more going on beneath the surface with these items than you might expect. So in this video, we're going to be covering at least one little known fact about every item in Mario Kart Wii. And trust me, some of these get way more interesting than you'd expect. So let's just jump right into it. Hope you all enjoy. We start off with one of the simplest items in the game, the banana. Most of you know that when you're in first place, a blue shell targeting you cannot be dodged without a mushroom or power item. But there is actually a rare circumstance where you can dodge the blue shell with something as seemingly ineffective as a banana. If a blue shell is after you and you're trailing a banana while positioned driving at just the right angle, the banana can absorb the shell's impact, completely shielding you from its explosion. This only works in very specific situations, like going down the waterfall pipe in Koopa Cape, as you need enough of a downward angle for this method to succeed. But it's still very cool that even a banana can save you from certain doom. Moving on to the green shell, there's a lesser known glitch that, if done right, can cause it to spin in place indefinitely. To perform it, you'll need to get in a race with a friend. Have them positioned facing away from you while dragging an item behind their vehicle. As you approach from behind with your shell held out, quickly throw it back just before making contact with their item. If timed correctly, the shell will lock into place but continue spinning, something that definitely was not meant to be possible in the game. Other than that, it behaves just like a normal drop shell, but eventually breaks, ending the fun. Onto the red shell, where there's another glitch I'm sure many of you have never seen before. To pull it off, grab your friend again, choose N64 Mario Raceway, and have them positioned on the outside of the giant green pipe near the end of the track. Then have your character inside the pipe facing them through the wall and throw your red shell. If done correctly, the red shell will lock onto them through the wall and hover directly above their position, trying to hit the racer, but blocked by the pipe. On their end, this triggers the endless warning sound as the shell desperately tries to reach them, making for quite an unpleasant listen. Furthermore, as they move around, the shell will mirror their every movement, creating a really cool and honestly hilarious visual. Moving on to the fake item box, an item so underwhelming it was eventually dropped entirely from the Mario Kart series after Mario Kart Wii, marking its final appearance. But the fib wasn't always as ineffective as we know it to be on the Wii. When it first showed up in Mario Kart 64, it was actually far tougher to tell apart from a real item box, with the only real giveaway being its upside down question mark instead of the usual upright one. This made a well-placed fake item box genuinely catch players off guard and become a serious hazard on the track. However, as the series evolved, the item was heavily nerfed, and by the time Mario Kart Wii rolled around, its bright red color made it painfully obvious, stripping away its uniqueness and any real deception, making its name honestly quite ironic. I mean, let's be for real, whoever actually fell for these? Next up are the triple bananas, and they're of course exactly how they sound like. 3 bananas that trail your vehicle. But that's not how this item originally appeared. Again, back in Mario Kart 64, the banana bunch was introduced, giving you not 3, not 4, but 5 whole bananas. That made it a surprisingly powerful item. With 5 hazards to work with, you could block off huge sections of the track, protect yourself for much longer, or drop multiple of them on the ground in quick succession. Let's just say it was a very strong item. Because of this, the banana bunch wouldn't even appear in a Mario Kart game until the period of Mario Kart DS and Mario Kart Wii, where it had been reworked into the triple bananas we know today, cutting the count from 5 down to 3, as Nintendo must have saw this balance as a necessary change to the item. Now we have one of the most iconic yet simplest items, the mushroom. It's pretty common knowledge that pulling a mushroom from an item box in first place is impossible, but there's a lesser known online glitch that actually breaks that rule. If you collect 15 consecutive item boxes in a race, your 16th box will guarantee a mushroom, even in first. This is really only practical on a few tracks that have enough item boxes for you to do this, but it's still a great tactic to keep in mind when playing online. And while we're talking about mushrooms, we might as well touch on their upgraded version, the triple mushrooms. It's well known that players will drop these mushrooms on the track if hit by a star or any other powerful item or obstacle. But in time trials, where the only item you are allowed is triple mushrooms, this isn't the case, and getting hit by a hazard simply makes your mushrooms disappear into thin air. similar to how other items behave in this situation in regular races. My best guess is that this is designed to prevent speedrunners from exploiting them for shortcuts through some sort of advanced tactics. The explosion of the Bob-omb has some unique physics to it. As you can see here, Toad is clearly outside the bomb's explosion radius, yet still gets launched into the air as if he were directly hit by it. This presumably concludes that the explosion radius is actually larger than it appears visually, or that perhaps the shockwave alone is enough to affect nearby racers. The facts for triple shells are interchangeable since both items are so similar. Firstly, if you're using a star while holding triple green shells, there's actually a small chance that you can hit opponents with the star without losing any of your shells, even though realistically the shells should be what makes contact first. This happens more often in online play where lag is such a factor, but even in offline play, as this clip shows, Toad keeps all of his shells despite Bowser driving straight into him. As for triple red shells, I wanted to showcase a very obscure detail in how the shells behave while orbiting your vehicle. When you're stationary, the shells actually spin slightly slower compared to when you're actively driving. This is most likely because their rotation factors in your vehicle's momentum while moving, which would make a lot of sense. The Thundercloud, easily one of the most hated items in Mario Kart Wii, has many unique traits. For starters, it's the only item that plays a buzzing sound when you get it, instead of the usual jingle all other items receive. This is most likely to warn that this is not something that you want to hold on to for long. Additionally, it's the only item in Mario Kart history that activates on its own without any consent from the player. And it's also the only item that can't be dropped through any sort of in-game damage, with the game forcing you to pass it to someone else or simply take its eventual shock. And while it's commonly said that Mario Kart Wii is the Thundercloud's only appearance, that's only partially true. The concept actually dates back to Mario Kart Super Circuit, where it makes an appearance in the form of a track hazard that would shrink racers on contact. It then later showed up in the Mario Kart Arcade GP as a proper item, alongside similar looking items like the Rain Cloud and the Snow Cloud. Its debut in a mainland Mario Kart game would finally come with Mario Kart Wii, of course, but due to how negatively it was received, it hasn't returned to the main series since. While making this video, I found something really surprising about the Mega Mushroom. You actually cannot drive through the trucks on Moonview Highway. Unlike the smaller civilian cars which you can drive through, the cargo vehicles stay completely solid. Maybe it's just me, but this genuinely caught me off guard when I first saw this. The Blooper is the only item in the game that has a cart directly modeled after it, with the middleweight Super Blooper. As you can see, the Super Blooper clearly takes inspiration from the item itself, with a white squid forming the cart's exterior. What's especially interesting though, is that this design remains the same for every middleweight character who can use the Super Blooper, except for Bowser Jr. For him, the cart takes on a more goldish-like color, making for quite a strange inconsistency. Next up is the POW Block, which causes all racers ahead of the user to spin out and lose their items. Most players know that you can avoid its effects by being in the air when it strikes, but there's also a technique to dodge it even on flat ground: hop dodging. With perfect timing, you can avoid the POW entirely by hopping at just the right moment. This is great to maintain control over your vehicle and keep any items you might have had. However, this only works in manual mode, and on a bike while performing a wheelie to gain enough air for it to happen, and there's only a 1-frame window to pull it off, so this method is incredibly hard, but not completely impossible. The blue shell is a really fun detail that's always cool to see in action. If you throw one right before entering a cannon, it will of course fly way ahead of you, but once you enter yourself, you can actually overtake the blue. As you can see while you're in the cannon, you'll barely be able to catch a glimpse of it flying below you as you zoom past it. This happens because the blue shell does not use the cannon like racers can, allowing them to speed ahead of it. Once you land, however, the shell will overtake you again since you're back to normal speed, continuing on its path towards first place. A very common misconception about the golden mushroom is that the more you spam it, the faster you go. In reality, there's no difference in speed between spamming your golden and spacing out the boosts. That said, spamming is the better option if a blue shell is after you. If you space out your boost, you still risk getting hit, since dodging a blue shell requires precise timing as you need to use a mushroom boost right as it's about to strike. So if your boost isn't timed correctly, you won't avoid the explosion. And honestly, spamming it is the funner option in my opinion. Almost everyone knows that a star grants you complete off-road invincibility, letting you drive over grass and other off-road without slowing down. But on N64 DK's Jungle Parkway, there's a very unusual glitch. To perform it, use a star just before entering the ramp, and once you exit and try to drive on the nearby grass, its normal off-road protection is completely disabled for the remainder of its duration. This glitch appears to be caused by the cannon properties of the ramp, and can really only be demonstrated on DK's Jungle Parkway, since it's the only track where a cannon's exit is close enough to any off-road. The lightning, or shock as most players call it, is one of the few timed items in the game, meaning it only appears based on a global timer during a match. Unlike the rest, however, the shock has the strictest timer of them all. It won't appear into the item pool until at least 30 seconds into a race, and once used, it can't be pulled again for another 30 seconds. On top of that, only one racer can hold the shock at a time, and it can only be found in the lowest placements. These factors make it one of the most restrictive, yet powerful items in the game. And for our last item, we have the Bullet Bill, an item famous for rescuing drivers and turning the tides of the race even when they're far, far behind. It's known for its incredible speed, power, and precision, but even the Bullet Bill isn't flawless. Sometimes it makes questionable decisions, like running into walls or taking not so optimal routes. And on Wario's Gold Mine, it can even take you straight off the track to your demise. But as frustrating as this can be for unsuspecting racers, it's also a perfect example of the complete chaos that makes Mario Kart Wii so fun to play in the end. And that's all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you know any other obscure facts about this game, be sure to share them and any other feedback you have in the comments below. I'd love to read them. With that said, thank you for watching and I'll see you around.